everyone. We are back today with another comic review, and this time we're going to be looking at the first issue. It's a 56-page first issue spectacular of Magnus Robot Fighter. And why am I looking at Magnus Robot Fighter? This comic came out in 2000 something. Where does it say? 2010. So this came out in 2010. This is the Dark Horse Magnus Robot Fighter series. It's only 4 issues. If I had the other 3, I'd just review them all together, but I don't, because where am I going to find them? That's the question. But here, Magnus Robot Fighter, I bought this because it was 56-page first issue spectacular, and it was $1. And like 100 yen. So, whatever the conversion is, $1.06 or something. But anyway, first page, Magnus Robot Fighter. Let me go over my Magnus Robot Fighter here. So Magnus was originally a Gold Key comic. This is like in the 60s, I believe, like 1965 or 1967. Maybe it's like 1955 to 1967. I don't remember. But it's somewhere around there. Magnus Robot Fighter was one of the Gold Key hero comics with like Dr. Solar and like Turok, maybe? Turok, Son of Stone. But like Magnus is, it's in the year 4000. He's a dude who's been trained by a robot dad to be a brutal robot killer, in that he can like break steel with his bare hands through training alone. He's not like he's superpowered. But Magnus here was rebooted in the early 90s. I want to say 91, or maybe a little later than that. I don't know. Maybe 91, by Jim Shooter when he went to Valiant. And strangely enough, okay, this is a thing. Magnus is a comic I really liked from Valiant. I started collecting it when it first came out, like before Valiant had a big boom. So I have like all the original Magnus comics, and I just really liked the idea of this Magnus Robot Fighter. So there were a few like early Valiant comics that I collected when I was collecting comics, and it was like Magnus and Rai and Archer and Armstrong. So and then I started collecting Solar also. Solar, Man of the Atom. But like Magnus here, this story is it's penned by Jim Shooter. Jim Shooter wrote it. And it's kind of okay. Like I'm wondering, like it does a good job of setting up the world of Magnus. Okay, so like it starts out good. You got action right off. Something crazy is happening. Magnus Robot Fighter is jumping into this barely clothed woman's. It's got everything you need. It's got crazy action from a cool hero. You've got some TNA. You've got next panel. You've got robots. So like you've set it up. You know what it's gonna be like. You know what this is. You know what you're going into. And here Magnus, he hops into this, and it starts out cool. Like robots are trying to kidnap this woman and kill him. Magnus hops in there, wrecks them, and like unexpectedly to the robots, they're like, "How is this guy wrecking us? He's wrecking us." So what happens? There's a chase. After the robots. He misses and he runs away because he's kind of like a covert robot killing hero. He's not supposed to be fighting robots. It's not a thing. But they do some things in here. So like, okay, here you can see, like, this is kind of a nod to Magnus Robot Fighter before. This, like, Robot H8 Hate is a robot that shows up a lot in Magnus. But like he's from the original run of Magnus. So like here you've got 1A as his dad. It's showing like, it gives it like an exposition dump basically for no reason. Like it's like solely for the reader's purpose. So it like ends up being a little poorly written here. And not that the writing is bad, it's just that like there are better ways to write a story than to just give like an exposition dump for nobody's benefit in the comic. And I say that because like 1A here is like going over, he's like, oh yeah, I've got this video I made of your training or whatever, and then like they go over it together, like, hey, here's me building you, here's me being built, or here's like you training when you were a kid. Like, all that stuff is kind of dumb. Like, you don't need to do this. I mean, it sets up the character's origin and everything right away. Like, I guess that's great, but like, there's better ways to do these things. You don't have to like, you don't. It doesn't have to be from his dad like this. Like, it could. He's got friends. He can just like, I mean, like, it doesn't even have to be in the first issue. Like, he can save somebody, and they can be like, how did you get like this? And he'd just be like, you know, since I was a kid, I like have been trained by a robot dad to be a robot killer. Like, it's simple as that. Like, you don't have to go into it. You can have a whole issue later on, like young Magnus training or whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter, right? You can just do you can do lots of other things that aren't like giant exposition dumps. So that ends up being a kind of a downside. I'm gonna skip a few pages here, even though like it's like a comic from nearly 10 years ago. But anyway, like, he gets to his friends, and she's like, oh yeah, your friend got kidnapped. I'm sorry, I was trying to be there, blah, blah, blah. And they go on, and they continue, and, you know, they set up this kind of trap for the kidnappers. And, you know, this girl gets like a chip inserted into her so that Magnus can find her if she gets kidnapped. Here's like a little, the bar is called Shooters, like Jim Shooter. And then you've got, you know, Magnus is hunting for the robot things, and he's like in this kind of bad part of town, and like he gets attacked, and that's the end of the it's a good setup. Like, it makes you want to continue reading this. I would like to continue reading these if I could find them, but like, seriously, I never see Valiant comics or hardly ever Dark Horse comics at anywhere. But like, here, that's like the first half of this issue. It's like the new story. It's a nice setup. It gives like a ham-fisted like you know, overview of Magnus. Fine, I guess, like there's better ways, but it's kind of all right. But then you get a copy of the original Magnus Robot Fighter, the first issue of the, or maybe it'll say does it say 1963? Okay, I was wrong. So 1963 is the original Magnus. So 1963 to probably 1965. I think it only lasted 2 years. So I was like a couple of years off. 2 years off. But Magnus here, he this is the original like Silver Age Magnus. And like, you'll see, like, here's Magnus in this also has the same kind of like ham-fisted explanation of like Magnus's history, but like, it's actually much quicker in this. So like, it is just an exposition dump here. It's just like, you know, here you go, he was trained, here's me giving you some advice, go for it. And then they go. It's like just a couple of panels, right? But in this one, it does like a bit of world building. It sets up the situation where the robots are like kind of controlling the humans instead of humans being like helped by the robots. And these kids like push a robot off the roof. They almost get arrested. And Magnus comes and saves them. But also, you know, it's like a simple kind of story. This is his friend here is he meets this girl actually, and she's like running from the cops, and he saves her, and they go and confront the robot, the police robot, and you know, robot, he captures one of the robots and kind of reprograms it to be on his side. So like, you know, the robot he reprograms helps him, and then they fight the chief of police, H8, the hate chief, the chief of robot police. It's Very subtle Magnus the Robot Fighter. But like, what happens here is that you get a good story that sets up a world. So like, you know, here you have like, here he comes in, it's a complete story, he fights the evil robot, beats it, releases these humans who are being held captive by the robots in a kind of Matrix kind of way where they're used as like a computer themselves in tubes. And you know, then like at the end they free these people and they're like, oh yeah, if you need us you can call on us for help later. And then Magnus is like, oh yeah, I've only removed one of the sources of evil robots, there's many more. So then the story continues. It's actually a pretty good setup for a first issue. And it's I have a hard time saying this, but like the Silver Age Magnus is probably has a better setup to continue reading than this Magnus, the Dark Horse Magnus. And it's not to say that it's bad. It's just that like you actually kind of want to see more of the same in this, where Magnus does more cool stuff. But like this one ends on a cliffhanger and the other one doesn't. So this one is actually probably more more effective for getting you to read it. But like actually the Silver Age one, I feel like I should buy those books now, the Silver Age Collected Magnus, because I'm kind of interested. But that's it for Magnus Robot Fighter. It's good. If I find more of these, I'll review the rest of them. But like, whatever, just random comic reviews. That's what I do here, random stuff. I should make a video about why I'm doing random comic reviews and not like new comic reviews, because that'll be interesting. Might be interesting, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, end of video. I'll catch you guys next time.